I got my tinfoil.
Look at that.
I got a tinfoil hat right here to put on my head. Look at that. Holy fuck, you are working on some shit. You lost weight,
bro. 155, man.
Holy
I'm in
shit.
literal MMA fucking fighting shape, and I'm ready to take on any motherfucker that wants to go at it, bro. I don't even care. I'm
Look at
fucking
this.
ready to go, Joe.
Oh my god, that's some real shit right there. You are ready to. You're tall anyway, right? You're like 6'1" or 6'2".
Nah.
Tinfoil.
Right
now it's gone. Oh, get back your tinfoil hat. We'll put you right there. Look at that.
There you go. Put it right in the middle. Equal opportunity tinfoil hat, bro. Because if there's ever an era where the tinfoil hat is a fucking must, it's today. It's nowadays, man.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to keep the tinfoil hat close.
What's funny is how it went from like such a joke to so real, but also with all the shit that comes true, it's weird. It does two things, right? Like, so with all the stuff that keeps being proven right, which is fine, there's also more crazy, right? More fake and more crazy and all that stuff too. So now you've got it's to go along with it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Now we're under the realization that anything can be possible. If we know that the government has pulled off some of the biggest, mind fucks in the entire world that you could ever think of. The Gulf, going all the way back to like the Gulf of Tonkin, even World War II, stuff like that. If they can pull that kind of nefarious stuff off, they can pull off literally anything. And they use, obviously state-run media to push these things forward, bro. So I'm literally everything that comes out in the mainstream media, any story, I'm immediately skeptical. And I know you are too, bro.
Yeah, I get, and it's just like, well, with the UFOs, like that's why we say like, oh shit, like what's the reason for this to come out now? Why are they now talking about this when they clearly have known for a while? And by the way, there's a couple of different things to get into, and one of the things I just lost in my brain, oh shit, I wish I could remember right now. I really just lost it. It was really important. Oh, the moon landing. We'll go back to the moon landing after, but let's go into real quickly these UFO things. So we're starting to see some of these videos get broken down, and someone's from Asian, like South Korea and all over the place. And like, dude, these things look like, some of them, they don't look like spaceships anymore. They look like particles or bacteria or like jellyfishes or something or like whatever. And we're seeing that. Did you see that Scud missile allegedly video that I tweeted out earlier? Did you send that to me?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I saw that. Dude, I'm thinking that they're balls of energy.
Right.
Somehow, some way, there's just like energy is able to make into some kind of. I don't believe that these are actual UFOs in the sense of like aliens or something from outer space. I think that's completely full of it. But I do believe that whatever this thing is, they've known about it forever, obviously, and they're using it as another distraction because now, like, obviously, the pandemic's starting to end, and they need to continue to push these distractions forward. And we're seeing that literally on a daily basis. That's all they do is push these distractions forward.
And if you look back, and a lot of people can do this, you guys, everybody can do this on their own. I'm not going to get into it because it's not smart enough to know all the dates, the times, and the things. But if you look at wars, right, like some of the first wars in America, like around World War I and World War II, and then into the Vietnam War and those things, that was the government being like, shit, we need to do this. This is part of our country. This is part of what we do. We need to keep doing this. And that's why right after World War I and II, that they were like, okay, let's attack our own selves in Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Let's attack ourselves. And JFK said, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that shit. And then suddenly, you know what I mean? After a while, JFK is dead. And for one, it could be a bunch of reasons why he's dead, but that's a pretty interesting thing. And so going forward, we have the Vietnam War. It doesn't make any sense. The stuff with George Bush Sr., that didn't make any sense. The Gulf, the fighting over there, we had these new weapons we wanted to try out. The whole September 11th, and then we're going to war, weapons of mass destruction. That's not true. And now we're almost like, okay, the people never go to war unless we do this crazy thing to make them want to go to war. Is that why you think that like there's this war on us, like ourselves, like we're creating our own war in our country because we know that we can't get the people to support a war outside, or if we do it, it's too soon. You know what I mean? People are going to be like, no, not this shit again. We're not going to war.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude, it's the same game with different players. They follow the same playbook. It's like Bill Belichick. If I know obviously you're a Patriots fan, right? And if you watch the Patriots historically under the Bill Belichick era, it's consistently the same type of playbook. It's consistently the same type of playbook, the same type of strategies with different players. And it was always focused around the quarterback and what he does. That's the way the US runs their government, bro. And wars are capitalism, man. You always just have to follow the money. You follow the money back,
Hmm.
like you mentioned, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Gulf of Tonkin, all these fake bullshit scenarios to get us into a war. And that's exactly what they're doing now. Except now the American people understand it better. We're more vigilant towards this, so we're not buying into the propaganda and bullshit that they push on a mainstream level. But what they do is they continue to find new ways to do this. I mean, you look at the pandemic, right? We're
Right.
looking at an insane era in our lifetime that hopefully we never see again. But we're focused right now on China. And was this something that came out of a lab? Was this something that they covered up? These are all parts of the storyline that's going to eventually lead to a hot war. Right now, it is a hot war right now, Joe. You know it's a hot war,
It's a
but
weird.
it's through media.
There's some kind of there's some kind of, it's weird. It's the info war. It's the stupid thing that Alex Jones always said, that you were like, oh, what a, he's making stuff crazy. It really is. It's an information war now. What's real, what's not, and all the sides are doing it, by the way. I really know that. There's one side that's more dangerous right now to me, but yeah. But China, like, dude, if China's in trouble, we're in trouble because we funded it. You know what I mean? It's like, but again, why does Dick Cheney get to be the guy who's in charge of making the weapons that we use to go to war? Why does that guy get to be the vice president who is influencing the president on what to do and where to go and what war to have? In the same way that, why is Dr. Fauci, who gets to, you know what I mean, be in charge of all these different things and be in charge of the Wuhan lab and have it fund the Wuhan lab, this guy is running that, and he gets to be the one that spins the narrative, whether it's true or false or made up or whatever. He gets to be the one that we look to dictate the narrative of where that money went, if there was a good thing done or a bad thing done. So that right there is suspect. It's always that. It's right there. But nobody cares. It's like, I would think right away, Dick Cheney can't be president or can't be vice president because of these things. You know, okay, Dr. Fauci can't be in charge of being the one that we listen to over everything, since he's the one funding all this stuff. There's an interest here that doesn't, it's a conflict of interest, 100%. Right? And they thought Trump was a conflict of interest, right? Because he had Trump Towers and he had money and things and stuff like that. It was like, I mean, I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, well, wait a minute, Dick Cheney, Dick Cheney, Dr. Fauci, this is going on everywhere. All these guys have something stake in everything, just like Bill Gates. You know, and Bill Gates with his like, oh, we've got to do this and that. Well, you've got a stake in everything. You're the one controlling. You're just telling us, here's what has to be done. Well, what if you're wrong and people die? It's like, we just believe this guy.
Exactly right, man. You hit the nail on the head. You follow the money back to big pharma, and that's where it all comes from. That's what the vaccine push is all about. It's all about big pharma. They're getting billions upon billions of dollars from the United States government to produce these vaccines. And the less people that push, the more people, that push back on taking this experimental vaccine, the more they're going to push it onto the people, because it's all about the bottom line. It's all about money, because the more shots they put in people's arms, the more shots that they have to create, and the more money they're ultimately going to make. And they are not going to let this go until they hit their number, the exact number that they want to hit, their goal. And this has always been the idea behind mass vaccination since the beginning of time. Like, this is really the idea. Now, you got to think about it this way too, Joe. Big Pharma has been exposed over the past decade or more for their crimes against humanity with the opioid epidemic.
Right.
And most of these companies aren't liable for this whatsoever.
Yeah.
They settle, they get immunity. They get a slap on the wrist, maybe. They might have to pay a few $1,000,000 or even $100 million. That's still nothing. That's still not enough, because it does not change their business model. And the same can be said about these human experimental vaccinations. That's really what it all boils down to.
Yeah, and it's weird, and I agree with a lot of this, and I'm still I'm still a little bit in that realm of science and the left and hippiness, because, you know what I mean, I get all the vaccines for the most part. I haven't gotten this one yet, but really it's just out of being lazy. I'm not that convinced that I'm going to be in some kind of evil problem for taking it yet. I'm not there. I'm more towards a little bit to the middle, but I'm peeking in on what you're talking about, and I agree with you. But it's like, I'm not fully out of, I don't know if you would call it red pilled or woke or woken up yet. I'm not fully there yet. I'm still sort of like, hey, listen, all my kids got the vaccines, because I think vaccines are good. I don't think it's all bad, right? Like, I think it does help you. but there's still an agenda. They pivot from one thing to the next. 1 minute you got to have all these drugs. The next minute they're like, oh, you're right, these are bad. Like you just said, opiate, different things. You can't even get medication. Some people need the medication now. Before, it's the overcorrecting. Before, it was give it to everybody. Who cares? Opioid crisis, Klonopins, people overdosing. And now it's like you can barely get them, or at least I know a lot of people that can't get them anymore because they look at you and they're like, oh, you're a drug. No, we're not going to give them out. So people can't get them now because they're overcorrecting. But this is just the next pivot, right? Like this is on to the next pivot. And why is this guy, and who knows if this video will even last on YouTube at this point where we're talking. But, do your research. I'm sure it will be below research or their research for you. Facebook now, speaking of that, Facebook now is telling you, are you afraid of this person being corrupting you or something? Are you seeing these? Did you know what I'm talking about? What the hell is that about? I just saw this.
Extremist.
Yeah.
They're saying if you've been exposed to a potential extremist, you can see how other extremists have been exposed or something along those lines. Or like if you're they're trying to do is they're trying to put everything into a vacuum. And they're trying to make everybody believe the same thing. And that same thing is their overall global agenda. Now, look, when I say globalism, it automatically gets an immediate eye roll from most people. I get it. But the facts are the facts.
It's a damn globalist.
God damn it. But dude, the facts are the facts. When you
Yeah.
break it down to this vaccine, right? I'm not saying whether to take it or whether to not take it, right? That's a personal choice. Talk to your doctor, listen to different doctors. Don't just listen to the guy on TV, right?
Yeah.
Do your own research. But my problem with the whole thing is they're going to use this as you said, a pivot or a bridge to the next one,
Right.
and to the next one, and to the next one. And who knows, man? Maybe this one's not the one that's a nefarious thing that's gonna like
Right.
some of the conspiracy theories are, sterilization and stuff like that. Maybe this isn't the one, but maybe a future one is. Maybe they get the American people or the world global population to really trust them, and then eventually they do give us that one that achieves their goals.
I'm going to throw something out there to play devil's advocate, and you let me know what you think about this. One of the reasons I'm less concerned in some ways that I'm less concerned, is only about this particular virus and vaccine, is because a lot of poor countries and bad areas in poor countries aren't getting it. Like, they don't have the vaccine. And you would think if it was something really nefarious, you would start with those people first, right? Like, they don't care, we'll sacrifice them. But it's actually getting in the hands of some of the more richer places and stuff like that. So that's what makes you think it's legitimate, that they're not trying it on people first. And we say they are. It is an experiment. I mean, there's no... It's a trial by fire thing that's happening, and that we're hoping it works, and it sort of is for the most part. It seems like there are some problems. So wouldn't they try it on a less, a lower popularized area, or poor people and in bigger places like that? Some would say they did a little bit in places in India. Or you would say, well, they're waiting for the next one, like you said. So if they get 60% compliance this time, well, they're waiting to get 80% compliance the next time, and they want the rich areas and the people like us and people that are more well off, in first world countries and stuff like that, to get it and to be used to it, because then if they accept it first, then everybody will fall in line, as opposed to giving it to some of the poor people in isolated pockets all over the world. What do you think about all of that? I mean, because I'm wondering myself, why wouldn't you just, if there was really something nefarious, why wouldn't they be studying it then? Or if they weren't sure, wouldn't they be throwing it at some, an area where that's more poor than on just anybody?
Yeah, that's a great point. And they've used poor countries in the past for various vaccine experiments. If you look at the history of the Bill and Melinda Gates vaccination, or Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation,
Right.
and their vaccine experiments on smaller populations in poor countries, they've actually re-upped polio in certain
Right.
countries. Like that's a fact that has happened. People have gotten polio and died from it, and they've also experimented on women and young children that have caused unconscionable harm to these people. And this is not conspiracy theory. This stuff actually happened. So the reason my thought process is, and again,
I'll tell you, I can explain why that happens in a minute too, about Bill Gates. It's a psychology thing for sure. Go ahead though.
100%, yeah, but what we're doing is we're spitballing, we're questioning, and that's what needs to happen. Everybody needs to ask questions about this sort of thing and what the overall goal is. And again, you could always trace it back to capitalism. They're going to use this vaccine in the most well-off countries, Canada, the United States, the UK, because we have, again, the highest population, I guess, of well-off citizens, as you put it, kind of like high-class citizens, middle
Well,
class,
just
people with
people,
the most money.
areas with money, that's really it. Like you just said, like Bill Gates did the opposite. He went in and preyed upon people that either didn't have an education or that he just almost didn't have a choice in a way that he could, experiment on. And you say, and that's why it brings up real quick that, what he did was, well, he may think he's being a good person. Bill Gates may be thinking he's noble or a good person, but really what it is we have certain laws in the science world and in other worlds, and for doctors and people like that. And Bill Gates knew he couldn't do it in America or these other countries. So he preyed upon an area that he could do certain things and break rules that he couldn't break in other areas. And he got away with it. And that's why it's dishonest and scary. It's not that he is some absolute evil guy, in my opinion. It's that he knows the go around and he was reckless with it, maybe for the benefit of everybody else and for all of us and stuff like that. But wow, like that's some wrong shit. If you watch Star Trek, there's an episode of that with the doctor. It's a great episode to watch. I don't even remember the name of it now, but I do know that there's one doctor whose life work is something and people die. And the other doctor's like, you can't just risk people's lives because of your life work. And the doctor's like, yeah, but we could save millions of people's lives if this, when we find this out. And she's like, well, you can't just let 100 people die for that. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what it seems like Bill Gates, it's like trial by fire on certain people because he can get around some of the laws. I don't know, but that's my little thing on that. So yes, you're right. That could explain why they're doing that on here and for the money. And if they want to keep rolling it out to make money every year after year, they have to sell the people that are going to be able to pay for it later.
Right. And how susceptible are we to influence here in America and in the UK and in Canada and whatnot? Like a lot of these other countries, they don't have the access to big tech and social media and stuff that we do. They don't have the type of devices that we do. They're not all carrying around iPhones and connected 24/7. And that's why when the vaccinations first started, all you saw was celebrities and you saw, politicians line up to get the shot. And there was a lot of theories that maybe they weren't actually getting the shot. Maybe they were just doing it for theater. Like who knows?
Yeah.
So again, like that's a part of it as well, because there are people in this country that will watch television. They will see Mariah Carey sit there and get the vaccine. They're gonna say, oh, if Mariah Carey gets it, then I gotta get it because fucking Mariah Carey got it. It's just,
Yeah.
to me, it's the lowest form of thinking that you could possibly have. And I try to use critical thinking in every scenario. And again, if it's like the point in time comes where I feel like the human experiment is good for me and I want to get it, I'll do it because that's my right to do it. I just don't feel like it should be forced and pushed with like hot dogs and cheeseburgers and all this crap. To me, that is the biggest turnoff
Do you know
to
what
it.
they're doing
That
here?
makes it more suspicious than ever.
Do you know what they're doing here
Nah, what?
in Massachusetts?
Nah.
They're doing a lot. They're giving $1 million away. Yeah, they're calling it I forget what it is. It's some catchy name. Hold on a minute. Lottery. Well, and the interesting thing about Massachusetts that you probably hear it about all the time when I bring it up, but we're weird here, man. We're like weirdly liberal, but at the same time have these old school vibes and have these Republican vibes a little bit, blue collar. I mean, our governor is the one that's doing it, Charlie Baker. He's a Republican. It's called we have the Massachusetts Max Millions or whatever it's called. It's called the Vax Millions. The Vax Millions vaccine lottery registration now open. And see, I agree with you that here's the dangers in that. Let's like pretend everything's fine, right? The vaccine's fine, everything's okay. I understand. It's still weird. It's still bizarre to sort of encourage people to get something done with their health. It's the same thing when people are like encouraging surgery. You should get these lip implants and these facial implants. You look better and stuff like that. This weird sort of peer pressure. I mean, I don't want to. They can do whatever they want, but it's just weird. I mean, people should
Joe,
wonder about this.
sorry to cut you off, bro. Did you
Yeah.
see the clip of Stephen Colbert? I think it might have been last night or maybe the night before, and he did like this whole dance routine about getting the vaccine. Dude, If you want to, bro, I don't know if you can pull this up. It's been floating around Twitter.
Look at it.
Bro, this was probably the most dystopian weird thing I've ever seen in my life. It was a bunch of dudes dressed as like women, and they were dressed in like shot outfits, like needles or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were doing this whole dance routine. And to me, that kind of thing is it that will ensure that I don't get it. When you're pushing it in my face 24/7,
Yeah.
and when are they gonna stop pushing it into our face 24/7? Like, when is that gonna happen? When they hit the number that they want to hit? When they hit the amount of money they want to hit? Like, when is that actually gonna happen? It's not gonna happen anytime soon, because now we have variants, and now we have booster shots, and now we have
Well,
this and that. They're gonna keep this going on for as long as they want to have it go on for, and that's just the reality of it.
that's the thing is I again am a pretty somewhat left leaning person who, like, I like vaccines that work. I like science. The problem with that is science can be ever changing. That's the whole point in it. And if you just
Yep.
basically say you got to get this cuz science, well, that doesn't mean a damn thing. Science has killed a lot of people too and experimented. That's the whole point. So I get it. Like, my kids all have their shots. I have my shots. I have my polio vaccine. I'm glad I'm not going to get polio probably. But a lot of people are still getting sick even if they have the shot. And one thing is, I don't like misinformation or wrong information. And somebody wrote earlier today, I commented on this. They said, go ahead, don't get it. You'll be dead. And I basically commented, and listen, I've said things like this myself. I've said, like, go ahead, don't be a stupid Republican, you'll be dead. I've said stuff like that. But this guy said this, and it just clicked into my mind that, well, probably not, because 99.8% chance I won't be dead. You know what I mean? So, like, you're not right. Okay, don't get the vaccine, you're dead. And someone the other day, Mike Messier, called, and he's very, fairly left leaning, said everybody should get the shot. I think everybody should get the shot. And I said, I haven't gotten it yet. And he goes, well, if there's something deep inside you or something speaking to you saying don't get it, don't get it. If that's how you feel. And I agree with him on that. But I told him, I said, yeah, it's the same thing that keeps me from going to the DMV. Like, I don't think I don't have the vaccine right now. I don't have it because I think I'm lazy. I don't think it's because I'm not going for that shit. My wife has it. My mother has it. Other people I know have it. They voted for Trump. Some of them are right wing. Not everybody. My wife didn't, but all these people, different people have it. I don't have it, and it's just out of laziness. So that's really what it is. I'm just lazy, and I'm not that like, oh shit, I gotta go get it. Now 40% of the people were dropping. Everywhere.
Right.
Shit.
Different story, different
right.
ballgame. And I'm of the same belief
Or
as
if
you,
I
man.
worked in a nursing home, if I worked in like a nursing home where I was going to be around old people all the time or something like that, I would get it for their benefit, because I believe it could maybe help. But maybe it'll give me heart inflammation and kill me. I don't know.
Exactly, man. And again, like, you got to remember too, and this obviously, but to anybody who doesn't, a lot of people don't even get sick when they get it. There are numerous people that I know personally who have gotten blood tests and they have the antibodies and they were never sick. They were, and now they're still encouraged to get the vaccine even though they already have the antibodies. And you have to question that too.
Well, California wants you to wear a mask. They're starting to say, well, because of the Delta variant, even though you got the vaccine, now you wear a mask. And you saw what I tweeted out the other day. First, and everybody can look this up. First, Anthony Fauci says, no masks are needed. That's crazy. We're not going to need masks. Now you need a mask. Then you need 2 masks. Maybe you need 3 masks. Oh, now you know what? It was just 1 mask is fine. Okay, now it's get the vaccine. You'll need no masks. Now it's, get the vaccine, but you know what? We should need a mask still. So it's this fuckery and stupidness that's driving people insane. And I understand the need to protect the hospitals and everybody at first, right? Because you remember this because I was ranting about, I bought the masks on January 16th. Before people were even really getting into this, I do remember that. I bought all this shit because
I did the same thing. Smart, bro.
And I'm not a fucking crazy, usually conspiracy type person, but we saw some videos out of China and we said, holy shit. And this is in January, so we buy the masks in January. This is way before they sold out. They didn't start selling out until March, and we had these in January. And the thing about it is, I understand that, I might have said the same thing. We need to protect the hospitals and tell people that, you don't need to get one right now. So I can sort of understand why they lied there. But that's what people have to understand, is that they have the bigger picture in mind. They have the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few in mind with every decision they say, which is okay. That's what Spock said, and I agree. I really do. But you have to realize that for yourself and make your own decision. That's why you make your own decision. That's why you don't do what H3H3 said and just, I just listen to the government. They tell me what to do. Oh, yeah? Anthony Fauci told you didn't need masks. Well, I went out and got some. And that was before he even said that. I went and bought them before he ever said that. And if he said that, I still would have gone and bought them because I still would say, we don't need masks. Why do they need? Of course we do. So you need masks. And you know what? I gave away most of my masks. I only bought 150. I had the $200 gas mask that I bought in case. And Leah, my wife, said, why are you buying one giant mask? What about the rest of us? And I said, well, only one of us is going to have to go to the store or go somewhere to bring home food and survival stuff. So if it's that bad, you guys will stay home. I'll be the one going out with the mask on. So, and then I had all the other masks. Well, I donated all the other ones to the local hospitals and the little nursing homes around here. People were asking for them. So don't hoard them. And yes, people did all that. All the bad people would buy the masks up and sell them on third-party sites. And that's why Fauci had to lie and say, you can't wear the masks. But that's why you don't just believe the government either. You use your own brain like you did, like I did, and like some other people did. And I'm kind of a fucking moron, and it's like, but
here, bro, I'm not a fucking genius. I'm a dumbass, bro. I'm a fucking salesman. I'm a guy that's got the gift of gab in certain like areas, dude. That's what I am. But I think, and I'm a lefty leaning guy too for the majority of my life.
Yeah.
Until I started to understand why the media does what they do, and that really changed the game for me. I stopped believing them, and then you see their lies and deception, and that really changed a lot for me, bro.
You were like me though. But you were like me too. Where remember we heard this stuff for years, and you kind of just went like, you're whatever. You heard that all the time, even in the 90s, even George Carlin. Big fan of George Carlin. Probably you were too. George Carlin would say it. It's all bullshit. They do this, that, and the other thing. And you heard that in the 90s and the 80s when you listen to George Carlin in the early 2000s or whatever it was. And you sort of knew it and you heard it, but I guess I just didn't realize it's on the level that it's on. So
on that real quick, Joe, because you mentioned George Carlin, I just want to bring this up.
Yeah.
I saw him live 6 months before he died.
Me too. Right? Probably the same tour. Yeah, it was 2008 or something, 2007 or 8.
Exactly, yeah. And he had this bit about the school systems and how the government is making our children dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber on purpose. And that's what we're seeing now with the suppression of information, readily available information on the internet. This kind of stuff is going to ensure that our future, our children who are the future, us essentially, are going to be dumbasses, and they're not going to have the ability to critically think because they are put into a bubble. They're put into a vacuum. They're given information that the state and the media wants them to see, and that's it. They're not going to be able to see all of the larger questions unless they understand how to critically think and find that information themselves. And they're not going to be taught to do that in schools. Same way we weren't taught to do that in schools.
And they're not teaching cursive, but that's not even close. You're talking about critical thinking. It's true. That's why we're 30 something in math. And we're 11th in science? That's crazy. We should never be 11th. We should be top 5 in almost everything. And most of our good math students, they're Asian. And they're coming from a background that's strict and has this mathematical, numerical, and really usually a solid family class coming from Asia. It's the first or second generation coming from Asia that are keeping our math scores even at 30-something. And that's because they teach shit for real. Here it's all a goof. Here they're teaching you about your skin and all this other shit. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
it really is. It really is. That's where it starts. That's where the indoctrination starts in the school system.
I have a feeling that me and you are going to do a lot of shit going forward in the future here, man, because me and you connect on this shit all the time. And I don't know. I don't know, sometimes we'll disagree with something eventually or, when we come up to it. But right now there's just this awakening going on with everybody. I was saying this the other day that I've been listening to a lot of different people and shamans and stuff like that. And they're people that aren't left or right or nothing. They don't care about anything. They're just there's an awakening. Whether you're awakening on the left, right, awakening about this, that, or the other thing, there's awakenings about all kinds of shit. Everything. And some of it does, contradict itself, and some people think their awakening is more important than the other person's, depending on whatever they're doing. And that's really happening everywhere. And that's why you're seeing such a shakeup, and people are they just toppled the Queen statue in Canada the other day. And I thought that was funny. It's a rebellion thing that's going on everywhere. I mean, they're ruled by Canada technically still. They got Trudeau in charge. He's a nut fucking weirdo. Like everybody's just had enough everywhere, it seems like. And it's weird that maybe they don't understand the more they push back or push at you, the more they get pushed back on. And I wonder why they're doing the things they're doing then. But we'll talk about that more in a few. Hold on one thing real quick. Okay, so sorry, back. I had to pause real quick. Something's going on with the kids upstairs. I guess the wife didn't know I was recording. It's the same. So what we're sort of getting into here is like why people don't trust things, news, government sources, things like that, and it's really comes down to being lied to. And I was saying this to someone the other day. I was like, even if something's true, right? Like something's really good. Say they come out with a vax, or they come out with a solution. People don't like being lied to. And let me give you a quick example. It's a lot of people think dinosaurs aren't real, or that dinosaurs aren't real, or the earth is different than it is and whatever. I don't believe that. We found the bones of the dinosaurs, whatever. But what the reason where this came from is I saw a video where the guy goes into how dinosaurs are false and it's fake and it's all a lie. And then Joe Rogan, and you might have seen this before, he brings on the paleontologist or the guy, and the guy shits on the guy that's making up all the stuff about the dinosaurs not being real.
Are you watching Eric Dubé videos? Sounds like you're watching Eric Dubé videos.
I haven't, not recently.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what you're going into, and I've watched all of those.
Is that
videos,
he's the guy though? He's the guy who says no dinosaurs, Eric Dubé?
Yeah, and he makes a ton of logical
good points
that make sense, but I don't buy it. What I do think is there's shreds of truth.
This is what I'm saying. This is why I'll tell you right now why Eric, has a following and why there's some validity. And the reason is because they told, like when I went to these museums, I thought I was looking at the real dinosaur bones. They're not the real dinosaur bones. And even though once in a while, yes, they say, oh, yeah, these aren't the real ones. We keep them. We couldn't bring them out here. They would fall apart. And the paleontologist goes, Joe, are people fucking stupid? The bones would crumble. You can't put them out here. Well, fine. That's fine. But that's not what you tell the kids. And most people are never corrected about that. That's why most people find out later and they go, holy shit, they're not the real bones? I thought they were. Like, and my wife was like, how could you not know they're not real? And I'm like, I don't know. I went when I was a kid. I thought those were really the bones. And then I found out when I was 18 that they're not really the bones. And that pissed me off. So you're pissing people off and lying to people.
Let me ask you a question real quick, man. Did you go to to see the dinosaur bones on a school trip?
Yeah.
So did I, right? Did you ever go to like a planetarium when you were a kid to see like the stars and all that stuff?
Yep.
In a school trip?
Yep.
Exactly why I'm suspicious of these topics. Exactly why I'm suspicious, because at the end of the day, it all goes back to capitalism, bro. I'm a capitalist. I'm not a socialist. I think capitalism is a beautiful thing, but it can be used for such nefarious reasons. Like, look at how much money have been made from dinosaurs throughout our lives. Dinosaur toys, dinosaur movies, dinosaur this, dinosaur that. Same could be said for the globe and the earth. How many brands use the globe in their background or just flash it on the screen or use it in some way, shape, or form? WWE used to do it for forever. They had the globe, like, oh, worldwide leader in sports entertainment and all that stuff, So like these kind of things are what awakened me to the possibility that there are truths to these arguments. However, you haven't given me any proof, any hard proof of this, but I think the conversation should be had on a mainstream scale, but they're not doing it. They don't want to have these conversations. They purposely suppress these conversations. You mentioned Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan used to be a vehement believer in the moon landing being bullshit, right?
Right.
He used to think it was completely fake. At some point that changed. At some point he's sold on it now. Oh, we definitely went to the moon, 100%, no doubt about it, no questions asked. Why? Why did he completely change his point of view on that? And that's something that I think, a question that needs to be asked.
The moon thing I buy certainly more than the dinosaurs. The dinosaur thing is marketing capitalism and capitalizing on, a species and things like that. I guess I don't buy. I think the dinosaurs were here and we have the bones and everything. I just don't like the manipulation of, make it clear to kids. Like, these are not the real bones because we have them out back, but they don't tell you that, so you'll keep coming and paying money to look at the dinosaur bones that aren't really the dinosaur bones.
But all of them? Are they all real, or did they create some of these as characters the same way Star Wars creates characters or whatever? Are they all real? Like that's what we don't understand. That's
Well,
what we don't know.
well,
We don't understand
one
that.
thing that's not real is sometimes they find a dinosaur a piece and then they guesstimate what the rest of it looked like, and suddenly there's a name and a real skeleton hanging in the place. So there, you're right. But with a lot of them, they do find complete skeletons because they find them in the rock bed and the sedimentary and stuff like that, and they're all together mostly. But you're right. Some cases there are a whole bunch that aren't. You know what I mean? And there's no point in doing it because after the first 6 or so most popular dinosaurs, nobody knows what a Tridigalaratslopagus is, so nobody cares. But no, the moon landing is way more interesting because no matter what, the NASA said we lost the tapes on how to get there. We know that. And we haven't been there in 50 years. Why haven't we been to the moon in 50 years? I don't care if it's a fucking...
We're trying to go to Mars. We're trying to go to Mars. They're like, we're going to go to Mars and start a population on Mars, but we can't go back to the moon one time to do something there?
The thing is,
bring something back?
We might be able to go to Mars with the rovers, and we might be able to go everywhere with rovers. But why don't we go to the moon with rovers, too? That's the other thing. Why don't we go to the moon? Why? And by now, how come there's not a company who's put a rover on the moon with a view of Earth? Like Richard Branson or somebody hasn't sent a rover to the moon with a video of Earth or a live broadcast to Earth. I'm surprised that's not a gimmick yet or that's not done yet. So I'm not saying moon landing fake, but the flag, the way it blows, the way the lander lands on the moon and there's no dust, like different things like that. Stanley Kubrick and everything he was involved with back then. It's just you're leaving this window to be questioned. Now there's a lot of answers to some of it, like you just said. Some guy will make a 1-hour video on the moon landing's fake, but half of it you're like, no, that's wrong. You just have to look that up to realize what that really is. But some of it is BS or there's no answer. But the one thing that you can't argue is why the hell haven't we been there in 50 years? That's the thing. And we all of a sudden did the moon landing during some times of questionable procedures here in America, if you look at the timing of it, plus also the space race thing of trying to get there first. I always thought this. I always thought it was a mix. I always thought we went to the moon, but we didn't have this capability to show everybody how awesome and look what we did. So we shot this side footage to spruce it up and make it look unbelievable and stuff like that, to prove it and to make it look believable. People would believe it if they saw it. And so I always believe that they sort of lied about the way CNN, right? And CNN reporter might report, hey, we're live from where the stabbing happened, but the reporter's actually in the studio with a green screen and they're just using a background. And then when the screen falls down, someone goes, oh my God, they're fake news, they're lying. But it's like, well, they weren't really lying because they really were reporting on it and it really happened, but they were misrepresenting. They were there and stuff. Like, what the fuck's up with that? So that's what I always believe was the truth was in the middle. But what you can argue about a little bit is the science of the Kuiper belt and stuff like that, and how it doesn't seem like we can get out of that area. A human being can survive that. And they have given no good explanation to how you could get around that. If you look into it, it's very weird. And why haven't we been there in 50 years? That's the biggest question.
Here's where it starts with me, man. And this is something, of course, that we weren't taught as kids, that many of us don't even know to this day. And you probably know this, but Werner von Braun was the top Nazi scientist that we actually brought over to America after World War II.
Right.
There were a ton of high-level Nazis who were very smart that we brought over, and we indoctrinated them into the American system. We gave them a chance and all this stuff. And that's what we do in America. We give people chances. And this guy was the head propagandist for Adolf Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is the guy who invented the idea to go to the moon and the space race and all that stuff. And he's the one that essentially started NASA. And that's a big part of it. That's where it starts for me. That's where the whole conspiracy or whatever starts. What were this guy's intentions?
Operation Paperclip.
Bingo, Operation Paperclip. That's it right there. What were his intentions? What did this guy foresee as strategies to propagate the American population? And where did his ideas align with the ideas of the establishment back then? Did they ultimately have the same overall globalization ideas or mass indoctrination ideas? That's where it starts for me. And also another damning piece of evidence, if you've ever seen this clip, was a 8-year-old girl sitting down with Buzz Aldrin and literally asking him why we've never gone back to the moon, and him straight up telling her, him being shook by that and saying, well, and this is what he said. He goes, that's not a question an 8-year-old should be asking. And he goes, and perhaps it's because we've never been, and that's what he said to an 8-year-old girl on video. Now, I don't know if Buzz Aldrin lost his fucking mind somewhere lost along the way and
Yeah.
forgot or something. Who knows? He's also punched people who have
I was gonna
questioned.
say he also punched someone who asked him that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff is really damning evidence. And also, one more thing
Hmm.
before I shoot it back to you, bro, is like if you watch when they got back, the astronauts got back, and they're sitting up there, and I guess it was some kind of press conference, and and then they're talking about it and lauding it and stuff. The look on their faces, they look like somebody killed all of their dogs and
Oh
raped
yeah.
all their wives, bro. Like they should be celebrating. They should all be drunk, having a good time, fucking popping bottles and shit. These guys look like they were mortified. And
Yeah.
that's another damning piece of evidence. Like, in what world are we celebrating being the first to go to the moon, but yet these guys are depressed sacks of shit sitting up there at the press conference? Makes no sense.
Yeah, I remember doing a video on this and I was laughing and playing. I like reacted to the whole video. And yeah, they look like they look just like dead. They look like they just discovered like that the world is ending in 100 years and you can't tell anybody about it. That's what it looked like. Like oh my god, we can't tell anybody. Like, and this is the video he's talking about. Now I know they're tired. They just got back. Whatever. But yeah, and I think Buzz is the one that has to kind of lead them through it almost in a way. But none of them look right. They just look nervous. Look at the shuffling of the hands, the feet, the fidgeting, the grabbing of the wrist here. It's just this could be broken down by psychologists. And yeah, maybe they're not the most personable people. What you probably could do is compare this to any of their other interviews before this, like before they went up into space.
Been done. That's been done. And there's also other aftermath footage of these dudes reacting the same exact way. Now, maybe they're just squares. Maybe these guys are just like super serious, like, down to the point, miserable people. Like, that's possible too. But I'll tell you what,
Or
bro,
just introverts. They could all be introverts, but maybe not.
if I go to the moon, bro, if I'm the first person to be on the moon, the party's not going to stop for me, man. That's going to be something I'll hold on to and celebrate forever. And I think that's what these dudes should be doing.
Yeah, they look like either like, oh man, this is like they feel bad that they lied about it, or they feel bad that they found something out that they can't tell us. That's really what it comes down to me. Is like, yeah, they want like you wouldn't be excited if you found out something amazing that you wanted to tell people and you can't tell them.
They made a phone call to President Nixon. They called him on the phone. You're telling me that they were able to call him on the phone from the fucking moon in 1969 or whatever it was,
Yeah.
but we can't do a live stream to like the space station in 2021 and then have somebody at the space station, an astronaut or whatever, with a fucking GoPro on his head. And I think Eddie Bravo said the same exact thing, so I'm definitely knocking him off. And can just stand and just turn around and look down at the Earth and say, "Oh, there it is, round and spiraling, however many miles per hour through infinity." Like, you can't do that. You can't pull that off. It's because they don't want to pull it off, Joe. It's because they don't want to do it because they don't want to be exposed for their false truths.
Well, it just feels like technology advancing is exposing the previous years. Like it's exposing these years and this stuff because of what we can do now. But
Yeah.
that being said, man, I got to get out of here. I had a great time, man. What do you want to plug? What are you doing now? Your website, the Twitter, what's going on?
Sure. Well, I've been fucking canceled, Joe. I don't know if you saw it, but I've been canceled. My
Oh,
personal
really?
Twitter is gone. Yeah, canceled completely. I had kind of a meltdown, and you have meltdowns from time to time. So I had a meltdown on Twitter, and I got canceled, and that's fine. I live up to that. So follow at PWP Nation. That's where the business lives, man. PWPNation.com. We're always evolving. I'm jumping into different content now, different conversations. I'm not going to be put in a box because some scumbags in the IWC think I should stick to wrestling. Like, I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about whenever I want to talk about it. So check it out at pwpnation.com. You can buy the shirt at
Ooh.
Pro Wrestling Tees. Check it out, prowrestlingtees.com/pwpnation. And just follow me. I have a new Twitter account at Aledo Live. I'm sure that's not going to last, but if you want to follow me there, you can. And that's really it, bro. I'm just rocking and rolling over here, enjoying this crazy lifestyle, man. And that's about it, man. Thanks so much for doing this, bro. I'm
Yeah.
down to do this whenever, man. You're my boy. I got your
Yeah.
back always. I'm always trying to help you out and shit. So whenever you want to do this, I'm down, man.
Yeah, dude, let's do it all the time. We should do a lot more. I'll hit you up more often. We'll do more. And yeah, man, I gotta go. I guess I gotta be summoned to be a dad. So that's why I'm gonna get out of here, man. But I'll talk to you later, dude. I appreciate.